Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, Mike, have you found height to your mic?
My mic has been heightened. I put a brick under my Spock coffee mug that is holding my mic.
You know, that would be good photo material to post on your Twitter page, like your professional mic stand. Mike's mic stand. It involves a Yeti, a brick, and Leonard Nimoy. So go figure that out.
It does. Live long and prosper.
Now, wouldn't it be cool if that was
I should do that.
Wouldn't that be cool if it was an actual like furry Yeti and not like your Yeti mic? See that?
Hey, I could get some of that white furry carpety stuff and put on it and put a face on the
My God.
No, I won't do that.
I don't know. That would be distracting to me. I wouldn't know who to look at. I wouldn't. I could.
Yeah, but you know, I think I will do that. I will take a picture of this and I will post it on the Twitter.
Hell yeah.
And see what people think. See how professional they think it is. But it does work. I'm here. I am speaking. You can hear me. And there we go.
That's all that matters here at the Paranormally Zone. Yes, that's right. You are in the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of all things, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the man with a devil on his right shoulder and chip coffee on his left, Mike Harbno.
That is true. And a boombox between them.
That's quite the sight. Mike's got like this 80s, this giant 80s boom box. It looks like it's got lights on it. Is it lit up right now, or is that just reflections?
And that's reflection off of the TV.
Okay.
Yeah. Mary's watching a little bit of Ray Romano while we're recording. So
well, there you go.
It's reflecting off it. It looks kind of neat though. It's kind of lit up.
So Ray Romano is reflecting off of your boom box, and right next to that is the damn near effervescent Chip Coffee, just smiling away in that glorious scarf of his on that autographed picture that we've talked about several times on the podcast.
Yeah, that I would not have, not without you and Bridget.
That's right. That was so long ago. My gosh, that was back in the, 2014?
Yeah, that was like
Paracon?
your first Paracon.
Man alive, I can't believe it was that long ago. That's going on 10 years. That's flipping insane.
Amazing.
And you know what? It was an unforgettable night for Bridget and I, because we're not joking to, people who do tune in for the first time, believe it or not, we do have new listeners from time to time. Yeah, years ago, Bridget and I decided to start this silly old podcast under the name Nonsensicast Radio. Then it graduated to the Alternate Route Podcast. And finally, we're in a graduate school, hopefully, with the Paranormally Zone. But back in the day when Bridget and I went to that very first Paracon, that night ended up being a blast. We were literally hanging out with Josh Gates and Aaron Ryder on the dance floor of the casino there and just having a whale of a time. Chatting with Steve Gonzalez at the bar and sharing drinks. It was, it was a blast.
Yeah, you're hanging out with Josh Gates, and now you can't get a hold of him to get him on the show.
Hell no, man. That guy is everywhere, and, deservedly so. That guy, what a career he's made.
Absolutely.
And his talents. But Talk about a dream guest, Josh Gates. That would be
Yep.
something, man. That would be something. But hey,
I would-
speaking of
yeah.
super cool guests as well,
Yes.
we just booked, well, I haven't booked it officially, but I have been in contact, and she has agreed to appear on the Paranormally Zone. The newest cast member of the Dead Files, the hit paranormal program, The Dead Files, Cindy Kazaa, will be joining us on the Paranormally Zone. We're looking forward to that. That's going to be a blast. Talk about going full circle, man. Back in the day, since we're kind of walking down memory lane, we had the privilege and the absolute joy of speaking with Amy Allen back in 2015, 2016 or so, and now it's kind of coming full circle to talk with Cindy Kazaa, who is replacing Amy Allen on the Dead Files. But man, that is going to be absolutely awesome. So hope you're ready for that
I was surprised
one.
to hear that Amy Allen was leaving the show. I hadn't heard that. Is it part of the whole mashup of controversy among the paranormal programs?
You know what? It's from what I've gathered, it's just a personal decision on her part.
Yeah.
I think she needs some time to herself, basically, and some time away, and she wants to just be Amy for.
She's done that for quite a while.
Yeah, so
That show.
best of luck to her. She was a great guest. Still would love to talk to her again.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, we're excited to talk to Cindy, and as always, we're working on other guests, and we'll get it all solidified and have them coming your way shortly. But in the meantime, we still have a regular flagship podcast to, how do I want to call this? Pilot? I don't know if that might be a bad term for this episode. Today we're talking about...
circumnavigate.
That's even worse, kind of. But well, it's been a crazy week in the news, especially for those who follow especially those who are interested in exploration in general, those who follow the story of the Titanic, and those who are familiar with expeditions down to the Titanic, including and up to the current expeditions involved with Ocean Gate and the Titan submersible. I'm sure everyone out there knows fully well what has happened. It's just tragic. It's absolutely unfortunate. And this kind of sparked an idea for our podcast topic as well. We're going to be talking about ghosts of the sea. This is something that we've kind of tossed back and forth before, Mike. We never really got around to it.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, we've done like the haunting of the Titanic. We've done phantom ships. I mean, both of those were well received, supposedly. You're looking at the numbers, look like they were well received. Hopefully this is no exception, but yeah, this is just, it's a delicate, touchy situation, unfortunate all around, and sad and tragic. And of course, we're going to use it to segue to our podcast topic, because that's what we do here at the Paranormally. So.
We do the best we can anyway. But this whole case with that, the implosion of the Titan, it before it came to that, where we found out that sad, horrible, terrifying news, you just want to hold out hope. But, as time goes, it's like it just kind of wanes, goes away. And
well, kind of,
they're thinking it's not going to turn out good.
No. And again, I hope I'm not kind of coming across as like, well, I knew it all along. I'm not saying that at all. But when I first heard the idea that the submersible literally vanished, lost all contact. I mean, it was gone. No one had a clue what happened to it. Nothing had risen to the surface. No buoys, no loss of, the transponder communication. I mean, everything was gone. It was just like it literally disappeared. My first thought was that thing imploded. I mean, it's gone. But then you get all these crazy news stories about oxygen supplies, and days later you start hearing about banging noises that are being picked up by the by the crews who are searching in vain for any sign of the Titan submersible.
Maybe they did hear banging noises.
That is crazy, because obviously it was not the Titan that was picked up with all these banging noises, so you have to ask, well, what the hell were they hearing down there? What was being picked up?
Well, it's like I said, kind of goes along with me saying that there are 5 more souls that have been added on to the Titanic, and that's the feeling that I got. tragically if they're trapped down there. I mean, I know they weren't right by the Titanic, but they were close enough to where maybe those souls will be attracted and end up there. I mean, it's just hard to think of.
Well, considering that's the very reason they were heading down there anyways, to visit the Titanic. It's when you first texted that to me, when I first let you know about the news, that was what you wrote back immediately. You said like, well, the Titanic has claimed 5 more.
Yeah.
And it kind of weirded me out a little bit. I don't know why, but I was like, damn, that was your first thought. And sadly, it turned out to be true. And that's going to also segue into some of our conversation, like, about the idea of, we're not saying we buy this notion. We're not saying we fully support the possibility, but what if? What if there is such a thing as such like a negative force in the earth, and in this particular case, a negative energy in that locale in the North Atlantic that is perhaps claiming lives of, the unfortunate souls who are in that area. I mean, it's bizarre. It's crazy. We're going to be looking into that idea as well. I mean, there's portals. We believe in the idea of portals. We believe in the idea of haunted houses, not necessarily, the house itself isn't exactly necessarily the haunted aspect. It's the land that is built upon, perhaps. So it's kind of similar in nature when I'm talking about like the area in the North Atlantic in this case. Crazy, perhaps, probably, but worth
But
talking
why
about.
not?
But why not?
It's such a vast area. I mean, the amount of earth that's covered with the ocean and so much that's unexplored.
Well, we're going to be going all over the place here, but that sparked another, a note that I wrote down, my professional notes right here, Mike. I got a whole page of gibberish.
There's a
written
lot
down.
there.
Right here, right there.
Written in all kinds of directions.
Yeah, pretty much upside down, sideways, backwards. Only I can understand it.
So you can write and do cartwheels at the same time, or
just
what?
in case, you never know. You never know, right? Yeah, but just the idea of, what's the criteria for a ghost, right? Kind of the generic 101 of what is a ghost, what causes a spirit to linger. It's essentially like suffers a violent death on Earth, an unexpected death on Earth, and doesn't necessarily have a proper burial on Earth. That fits perfectly with victims of shipwrecks, victims of the sea, violent, unexpected, no proper burial, more than likely. I mean, makes sense. I mean, you would think of the ocean as being this massive graveyard of souls, not only of bodies, even though most of them decompose and they're gone. They're not there at all anymore.
Well, true story.
I know, but just the way you said it.
Well, we eat sushi.
I thought I was on a roll there for a little bit. The Mike says they get it. I'm like, okay, thanks for stopping me in my tracks. I appreciate it.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It is quite okay. So we'll be diving into all that. There's another damn horrible pun. Diving into Ghosts of the Sea. How many times am I going to be saying that this episode?
Yeah. Well, you think of how many centuries there have been, sailing on the oceans and the seas,
Right.
and how many shipwrecks in just one generalized area of the ocean along certain coastlines. I mean,
Oh, hell yeah.
there could be 100 shipwrecks right there.
Oh,
and how many ships are?
I think it's estimated. I shouldn't even brought this up because I can't remember. But I know that the strip along the east coast of the United States, that is considered one of, if not the most covered, I guess you would say. The seabed is literally littered with shipwrecks that just, the coastline, just off the coastline is very violent waters. And many, many boats have suffered their tragic fates there, and the pilots and the victims have all suffered as well. Sorry, I was distracted by Mike. You were turning around. What the hell happened there? You scare me when you do that. Are you okay? Oh, now he's doing it again. He's yelling at Mike. He's such a brute.
No, I was trying to. The phone was ringing, and I was trying to get it to Mary.
And I just said you were yelling at Mike. I meant to say you were yelling at Mary.
Yeah, I do yell at myself sometimes,
I know
but
you do.
I don't want to talk about that.
I know. That's a whole nother episode altogether, right?
It is, but anyway.
And I'm also being distracted by my wonderful headphones right now. My left ear, I can't hear anything. All of a sudden, then it goes like, so it's good. We're on a roll here. We're going to fight through it, though. As long as you can hear me, Mike, right?
Hey, loud and clear.
Coming through loud and clear. I just can't hear myself, but that'll work. Before I forget, the Patreon page is no more. You don't have to worry about us going on incessantly plugging the Patreon content. We had a good time. We gave it the old 2-year college try. We can't thank everyone enough who did give it a shot. Thank you so much. It was definitely a passion project. We definitely had a blast. Lots of good material on there. Some of that material, if not all of it, will be making its way to our YouTube page. We're going to focus a lot more on YouTube content, some YouTube exclusive video content for sure. Coming your way, as long as, Mike, you're up for it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If anyone has any ideas or suggestions to what they want to see on our YouTube page, feel free to send it our way because we're going to do our best. We want to make it good. We want to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. We need to just have some good feedback of if we should even be showing ourselves. I mean, we
Right.
we do have faces for radio.
I know.
But
I do have a quick update too. We have joining us today, Mike, a third co-host, if you don't mind, as I bring him on here. We've all heard from him several times throughout the years, but he wanted to join us tonight. He's probably going to leave before we dive into the topic, but I want to introduce everybody to Mr. Christopher Walken. Come on and invite him in, Mike. Say hello. Say hello. Okay. The guy's a legend. Acting legend.
He is. I'm a big fan.
All righty. Well, Christopher Walken, it's a pleasure to see you here, sir. May I ask you how you got here?
I don't know.
Okay. Wonderful. Would you care to tell us why you wanted to join us in person tonight?
I got feeling for you.
Oh.
And we always had that thought because we always have the feeling for him. So
yes.
We know it's mutual.
Now, okay, you got feeling for us. And you also said you had some ideas about how to improve the podcast. Why do you want to help us improve the podcast?
I can't.
Oh, well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good to know.
Well,
it's awesome to know. I'm glad
I've
that
always
he
wondered
cares.
and thought and hoped.
Chris, you care. You got feelings for us. Can you describe to us in 2 words the quality of the podcast before you decided to join us?
Turd pile.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that
And
one
we
coming.
were afraid of that.
Saw that one coming. Well, you do know, Chris, that we are trying to improve our content daily. We're going to improve our YouTube presence. You told us earlier that you actually went and watched one of our YouTube videos. What was your first reaction when you saw us on YouTube?
Well, there's an endorsement for you.
I don't know. Chris, without giving away any industry secrets, what is really the true reason that you are here and you want to see us improve?
I love you.
Mike, he loves us.
Mm-hmm. We knew that. We could
Chris
feel it.
Walken loves us. Damn it. Well, Chris, this has been awesome. It's time to let you go, unfortunately. I wanted to bring you on the show. Are you okay with us leaving? We're going to kick you off now.
God damn it.
Oh.
Deal with it, Chris.
All right. Bye-bye to Chris Walken. All right. Thank you for indulging me there, Mike.
All right. Next time, let's get Chris Farley instead of Christopher Walken.
Chris Farley. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Mr. Walken didn't have much to say.
No, not well. He's a man of few words. I mean, when you're
few words and direct to the point, and that's it.
That's all that matters.
And then shut the hell up.
The perfect co-host in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was good.
All right.
I hope he can join us again someday.
I'm sure he will. So, all right, Mike, all that silliness aside, the idea of the haunted ocean. Again, just think for a moment the size of the ocean, right? Think of how many centuries of ocean travel, how many lives have been lost, exploring the earth. God bless them. That's essentially what the people going down to the Titanic to this day are still doing. They're still learning. They're still exploring. Say what you will about the quality of the Titan, and and we won't go down that road. We're not going to bash the deceased at all. I mean, the guy, the CEO, he paid the ultimate price. He paid with his life. So we're not going to add on here. You can do,
and also the people that were on there before they had to sign a waiver before they went down.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
on that waiver, it said this can result in death. I mean,
yes, it did.
They were fully, aware of the dangers. And
I mean, I had a whole list of notes here that I wanted to write down about, what wasn't done with the Ocean Gate submersible. But I'm not gonna go down there. But I want to also bring up something that James Cameron brought up as well, Mike. And this is this ties into what we're talking about. He was making the rounds yesterday. What a guy who has a word. Talk about someone who has a say in the matter. I mean, the guy, James Cameron, is a genius. I mean, and he has visited the Titanic 33 times.
Yeah, the times he spent with that, yeah.
He's designed and built his own submersible. He went down to the deepest part of the Earth on his own, in the Challenger Deep. It's unbelievable. It was amazing. The guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But he's also, as you know, a Titanic aficionado. He knows the Titanic inside and out. And he couldn't help but mention the surreal irony, the surreal coincidence of the fact that the Titanic, back in the day, Captain E.J. Smith ignored repeated warnings of ice ahead. And he kept going full speed, headed right into an ice field at night. We're not ripping on E.J. Smith. God rest his soul. The guy had a unblemished career up until his final journey across the Atlantic. Fast forward to Stockton Rush, ignoring repeated warnings about design flaws. And then he himself and 4 others tragically meeting their fate, visiting the Titanic. I agree with James Cameron when he said he couldn't ignore the eeriness out of the similarities, the connections there. So, I mean, there's that. Say what you will about that.
Is it a curse of some sort?
Well, Mike, honest to God, I didn't even think about a curse, but it's kind of similar to where I want to head with this a little bit. Head for this for a little bit. I repeated myself, but that's okay. The idea of maybe that locale somehow, again, I'm not saying I buy it. I don't know if Mike does at all, potentially harboring some sort of negative energy that if you allow yourself, you could be heading into danger in this particular area. I mean, we've all heard of the Bermuda Triangle, for crying out loud. And say what you will about the Bermuda Triangle. What's going on there? Is this kind of a mini Bermuda Triangle going on there? The possibility is slight, but I have to throw that out there.
There is the equivalent of the Bermuda Triangle. They have them all over the world. Areas. Alaska is a huge one.
I mean, it's not an isolated incident. It's not an isolated locale, is what you're saying. I mean, this is
right.
The Earth, for gosh sakes. I was beating around the idea in my tiny little noggin earlier today. Sometimes we talk about
brain the size of a walnut.
Yeah, and the cranium looks like an orange on a toothpick, right? We got it. We know. We hear it all the time.
He shakes his head too hard, and you hear it.
Oh man, yeah, my neck snaps. It's not a pretty sight.
It's like a It's like a baby's rattle. Anyway.
So the idea of these locales being somehow affected by some sort of negative energy. I don't know if I buy into that, but I do perhaps buy the notion of the tragedy of the Titanic itself rendering its own aura of negative energy that still resides in that locale. How do you feel about that possibility, Mike?
I like that thought. You think of the negativity that could have been generated by all the trauma and death. I mean, to us, that this happened a long time ago. You know, no survivors that are left that did survive the wreck. I mean,
111 years ago. To be
exactly. Precise. I mean, now where was I going? You totally blew that out of my mind.
111 years ago, but the idea of the negative, the trauma that still resides.
It can still be going on down there like it did. It could be replaying down there. I mean, not to where we can see it, but every soul that's there. And this is tragic to think about, that they have to keep going through this. But what if there's there's something that's trapping them there? You can go in a lot of different directions. You can theorize or speculate a lot, but if you're talking about a negative energy coming from that and causing its own aura or whatever in that location, absolutely. I don't see why not.
You know what just popped in my little noggin again, Mike? No, not circus music. But the idea when you said it's horrifying possibility of them being trapped at that locale, trapped at the wreck. I think we've talked about before in the past the possibility of spirits. I'm doing the air quotes here, ghosts residing in different forms, having a separate essence in different locales. Let's say Ida and Isidore Strauss, two of the famous victims of the Titanic. If their soul was trapped on the wreck, would it just be one version of their soul, while another version of their soul maybe perhaps is lingering in the comfort of a family home somewhere? They visit their relatives. They visit their, the generations who have followed. What do you think about that possibility? Is that too much to even consider right now?
Why can't it be couldn't that be considered of spreading the energy around? I mean,
the reason the reason that I struggle with the idea of some being trapped at the wreck is because it just comes down to simple good and evil people. I don't like the idea, because a lot of good people suffered their fates on the Titanic. Why would they be doomed to roam those decks still? To me, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and that could come down to the possibility of there being it being a negative location. Is it something that's trapping them there? It's like you see the different episodes of these ghost hunting shows, and there's a ghost of a little girl or a person that's frightened. They get them over. They communicate through the spirit box or whatever, and they'll say that they're being held there. They're being trapped there by this evil entity that's there and keeping them there. Why can't that happen there?
That's awful to think of.
A completely innocent child spirit that is frightened even after death, that there's this entity or this evil that has trapped her there against her will. They could have the nicest, most wonderful, innocent people that they could be trapped somewhere totally against their will, in death as well as in living. I mean,
damn,
why not?
And that made me think of this, Mike. Now bear with me here.
Okay.
we're already going off track, but I like it because this is good conversation. Now, don't laugh.
Well, I won't promise that.
I know that it's impossible to be done. Right now, with technology we have, it's impossible to be done. It may never be possible. Do ghost investigations need to be done at the wreck of the Titanic in order to? And the reason I said that because what is TAP's catchphrase? We're TAPS and we're here to help.
Mhm.
What are several ghost investigation teams all about? They're about hopefully contacting some soul or spirit that may or may not be trapped. They cannot move on yet. I'm not saying I necessarily believe in the idea that a spirit needs to have some sort of human interaction in order to move on, because that kind of seems a little off to me. But does that have to be done in the case of those who may or may not be trapped on the Titanic, Mike? Do they need some sort of assistance in order to move on?
Wow, I hope not.
I hope not. Exactly.
Wow.
That's a terrifying thought.
You know, we need to talk to Chip again, and
Oh, shit. No kidding. That'll be fascinating to get his thoughts on that. That'd be fascinating to get Cindy's thoughts on that when she comes on the show here. That'd be
definitely
freaking awesome.
It's beyond my little mind.
It is beyond mine. And like I said, I didn't mean to go off on too much of a tangent there, but hey.
The size of my brain is a pea, so I know much less than you.
So I'm a walnut and you're a pea.
Yeah.
All right. But at least you don't have the orange and the toothpick thing going on. So
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I won't claim that.
And I know when we did the haunting of the Titanic, years back as the Alternate Route podcast, I'm pretty sure I brought up this story then, but I'll bring it up again because all the Alternate Route podcast episodes, none of them are available. Well, there's still a few that I have yet to remove, but most of them are gone. The author, Charles Pellegrino, he's author of an awesome Titanic book, Farewell Titanic, that I've listened to and read so many dang times, it's ridiculous. But he was part of the Russian Mir sub investigation with James Cameron back in the early 2000s. And upon his visit he made a few dives with James and the other experts. And upon their visit to the stern, now the stern of the Titanic is obviously it's broken away from the bow. The Titanic's busted in two. The stern is an absolute wreck. I mean, no pun intended there. It's barely recognizable. And it was barely recognizable when it was first discovered back in 1986. It was like, well, we know that's the stern, but it's in shambles just because of how it descended and it started spinning out of control and the forces were just blowing everything apart. And it was a goner. Yeah. But Charles Pellegrino wrote pretty extensively about his visit to the stern, his experience when they're visiting the stern, about, when they had visited the bow section, everything was fine. He didn't feel any different. I mean, it's always a fairly terrifying experience being down there, obviously, because as we mentioned earlier, you could die at any flipping moment. If the submersible doesn't
nowhere to go.
If the submersible doesn't implode, you could get trapped on the wreckage, and there's any number of things that could go wrong. Visiting the bow, nothing happens. The moment they get to the stern, Mr. Pellegrino starts feeling nauseous, and he starts feeling this overwhelming sense of sadness and anguish. So much so that he had to turn away, and he couldn't go anywhere. He's down in the sub. He needed to basically get as far away from seeing it as he could.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was overwhelmed with emotion and feeling to the point, like I said, that he got nauseous and almost got sick. Now, he writes in his book, and this is coming from a guy he's basically agnostic. Kind of towards the end of the book, so many weird, eerie coincidences happen to him personally that he questions maybe there is something out there. This was perhaps one of them because of the idea of where did most of the last final victims of the Titanic, where were they when the ship was sinking? Where were those people when they were the most terrified?
Yeah.
Were
right
waiting
there.
to die. They were on the stern. They were trying to stay above water as long as they could.
That's the last place that they could run to
Yeah.
until it ran out.
So long story short, I believe he was affected by the terrifying traumatic energy that was left imprinted on that stern. Do you think that that's a stretch?
No, it's not a stretch at all. I think that makes a lot of sense. And he's sensitive and empathic, and he's feeling that. He's feeling what he was experiencing, what those people were feeling at that time. That energy is never going to go away. It won't.
No. Yeah. How would that dissipate?
No.
That's kind of why, again, as silly as it sounds, doesn't need to be exercised somehow. But it's impossible.
Well, you don't have to be there on the ship, I think, to do that, to help pass people over. I mean, especially if you have somebody that has the energy and the talent and the ability of, you get people together like Chip Coffey and these, the psychics that are so knowledgeable and know what they're doing and have a definite talent, and just band together and do a mass, release for these people from where we're at.
That's an awesome idea. Has something like that ever happened, Mike, to your knowledge?
No, not that I've heard of, but you never know.
What a great idea. Why? That would be pretty flippin' interesting to see what the heck happens.
Yeah, and have a few remote viewers there to keep an eye on it as it's happening.
Yeah, and we're not talking all psychics, because let's just face it. I mean, there are frauds. Of course there are frauds.
Oh, absolutely.
The world of the psychic is littered with frauds. People who just want your buck. People who are, who are basically acting like vampires and feeding off of the traumatized and the bereaved.
Yeah, like an ambulance chaser.
Hey, great way of putting it. Which is unfortunate.
Like Michael J. Fox, was it in The Frighteners?
Hell, I don't know. I've never seen that, Mike.
Oh, you got to see it.
Damn it. I've always liked the
Arlie
name.
Ermy is in it, and everything.
Arlie Ermey's in it?
He plays a ghost of a drill sergeant. Oh, it's awesome.
Wait a minute. How the hell did he know how to portray a drill sergeant?
Well, it's a good question, but I think it goes back in his history somewhere.
Well, as like the great Norm Macdonald once asked Molly Shannon, who was portraying Courtney Love on SNL when Courtney was making the rounds after her role in the movie The People versus Larry Flint. Norm flat out asked Courtney, how in the world did you know how to portray a heroin addict? Norm Macdonald, sorry. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, you get it. So,
yeah.
I apologize. Should we take a break after that one? I'm kidding. Igor, should I delete that one? Igor?
No.
Okay, fine.
No.
A little late to the trigger there, Igor. You got to get on the stick here.
Yeah, he might get fired. I might have to replace him. No.
No. Well, that's right. We were going to do that for one episode. You were going to be the soundbar.
Yeah. I don't know. See, that's a terrible.
No, that sounded like Christopher Walken after he inhaled helium.
Yeah. Actually, that sounded like Christopher Walken doing an imitation of Patrick.
Thank you very much.
And the only reason I said that is because I know you'd think it.
Oh, man. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
I have joined the likes of Norm Macdonald.
Oh, I'm looking at my notes again. I'm sorry, real quick. I forgot to mention, I did say that we're moving a lot of our stuff to YouTube. We're going to be having a lot more video content created. So please go subscribe to YouTube. We'd love to build that community here. But the last video I did plug, or I did post, I should say, was our Sally House little 18-minute video that we filmed when we took a break there at our time at the Sally House, kind of give an update for our then Patreon subscribers. it's really interesting because at the 1616 mark on there,
It needs to be looked at.
There's something that needs to be looked at. Just look at the lower left-hand corner while we're talking casually. Mike and I did not notice this. Orb, perhaps? We got some nice feedback on that clip,
We did.
Mike, and
It is quite Orbish-like.
very orbish, and it's
Yeah.
as longtime
And we're not-
listener and friend of the podcast, Pandora Blackthorn wrote. She says,
Yeah.
"I don't know, do bugs just materialize out of nowhere? Because that's what this thing did. It just popped up on the screen and it was. Just go look at it. We want your idea of what the hell that thing was. So,
But what I think,
oh God,
and what I'm pretty sure
oh Lord,
what it was, because I really zoomed in close in it.
yes, you did.
I did. And that was very interesting because I saw this very dark pair of very tiny sunglasses. And then I thought, oh my God, it's Roy Orbison. Oh my God. I got kind of excited. Boy, was that an eye roll.
I really wish I had a
Crickets.
flipping gong show sound bar right now.
Well, I'm no Gene the dancing machine.
No,
or nothing,
I want to
but
know
for
how many of
crying
our
out loud.
I want to know how many of our listeners know who the hell Roy Orbison was. Probably a lot more than I think. Angela Dawn,
Yes.
if she's listening right now, she'll probably
Oh,
yell
you
at me.
know. Yep.
She'll yell at me
Hey,
again.
I'm really getting to like her a lot. She's got some great stuff on the Twitter.
Oh hell yeah!
She's a lot of fun.
We have, you know what, Mike? We have some of the greatest listeners out there.
Absolutely.
We just love all you guys so much.
Yeah.
Keep
And
interacting with us. It's so much fun.
Yeah, the 2 or 3 that interact with us, they're fantastic.
We can't thank you enough. Can't thank you.
Yeah, that just all fantastic people.
Okay, Mike, getting back to the topic at hand here. One of the topics that we had covered, again, as the Ultra Raw podcast, was the idea of phantom ships or ghost ships or haunted ships. That's a whole nother idea of ghosts of the sea altogether, but it's something that's just as fascinating, just as creepy, just as eerie. To me, it is.
And it's something that is out there.
And when we say ghost ships, we're not talking about the literal abandoned ghost ships, because that's technically the definition. That's how that's what it equates is when you say ghost ship, you're talking about like again, an abandoned empty vessel that's floating out in the middle of the Pacific. And
there have been ships like that have floated for decades, and then they show up and and they'll go aboard, and it's like things are there like they just left and things like that.
Yep. The sails are still set,
a lot of great stories like that.
The log books are missing, the lifeboats are missing, but the ship is still fully intact. And it's like, what the hell happened? Pirates, perhaps? The pirates doesn't really necessarily make sense.
They've come up with a lot of theories and ideas, but all they can do is speculate. Like one story I think I heard was one ship was carrying gunpowder, and they speculated that there might have been something critical that happened, that they were afraid it was going to blow up, and everybody left the ship and they didn't get back. Something to that effect. Yeah.
That's very similar to I did write this one down. That's very similar to the story of the SS Orang Medan.
Orang Medan?
Yeah, it's very, I'm not saying orangutan or anything like that. It's the Orang Medan.
Well, there's a joke there somewhere.
Yeah, it's another one of those creepy stories where I'm gathering my thoughts here. I should have had the story written down, but I just wrote down the ship's name, where the deceased found, when the ship was found, those on board had all perished, obviously, but they all had what was described as a look of sheer terror frozen on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason that popped in my brain, Mike, because you mentioned the gunpowder. Now, this was saying that they were hauling, not nitroglycerin, was it? No, glycerin? Nitroglycerin? It couldn't have been, but it was some sort of dangerous artifact that some say may have caused their demise. Others say it was alien invasion. alien abduction. Others say it was literally a haunted vessel. The spirits of whomever overtook these poor souls. Who knows? But what is it with this look of terror on all their faces and frozen on their faces? I don't know.
Carol Channing was a stowaway, and she came out in the middle of the night. There's a name. Let's see how many listeners.
There's another
know.
reference. Oh my gosh. Oh, man.
It'd be the same thing as like if Phyllis Diller was on the ship and came out, tried to give those pirates a show, and didn't quite.
Well, you know how some of those warships usually they would have like a terrifying, intimidating like structure on the very front of the bow. You know, that's over.
Oh, sure, like the Viking ships that have like the dragons on the front. And
so you're saying they had like the face of Carol Channing up there? Or
hello, Jolly. Well, hello, Jolly. It's so nice to see you once again, or something like that. I don't know.
Oh my God.
If anybody doesn't know who she is, look her up.
Go look her up and imagine her standing on the very front of the bow of the ship.
Yeah, go look it up, or I'm going to start singing "Hello, Dolly" again.
My gosh, yes, that was pretty entertaining, though, Mike. That was pretty entertaining. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to have you back again.
Oh Lord, I'm starting to sweat. Oh, what the hell?
I got the meat sweats.
Now, this is something that I had written down, Mike. The idea, I said, ghosts of the sea. I have that written down. And then I say, as living memories / dreams kept alive. Now, what I meant by that is it possible, in your mind, and I could give my 2 cents about this as well. Is it possible that ghosts, I'm doing the air quote again, spirits, I'm doing the air quote again, can be, not saying that's what they all are, can be manifested through the memories of the living? You know, let's go to the bereaved, perhaps. They're recently departed. They are heartbroken. They're devastated. And for however long they live through their memories, they bring their loved ones back. They experience them through their memories.
Sure.
Do those memories, can they be powerful enough to actually produce a physical manifestation known as a, air quote, ghost?
Yeah. The mind is something that we don't understand totally. And I mean, why not? It sounds like a night gallery episode. Oh man, I love throwing these mind benders your way. But I think that we all know that you're open-minded to everything. I'm open-minded to everything. Sure.
No matter how outrageous some of these ideas may seem, you have to think about it. You have to take every option you can, decipher it, logically break it down, maybe not so logically break it down, and make a decision for yourself. Yeah.
I'm open-minded to anything unless it's painful.
But right.
And then I'll say no. That's where I give out the safe word. Anyway, go ahead. I felt like we were lacking in stupid humor.
No, that's fine. That's great. Oh, our conversation with Chris Walken wasn't enough for you earlier?
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah. I forgot about that one.
But I do like the idea, though, of our memories being so powerful, and you still feel so close and attached to those who have passed on that maybe they can be, for lack of a better term, conjured into some sort of physical existence again. Even if it's just like a shadow that walks past you that you see in the corner of your eye. You know,
absolutely. That you give it the energy to exist.
Right.
It's like a prepubescent child having poltergeist activity. Is that something that is created through the emotions and mind of that person, or is it a
lot of people think so, spirit? Man. A lot of people think so.
Something we've discussed many times.
So I guess that's kind of the idea what I'm getting at with again, not all of them, but with haunted ships, phantom ships, is perhaps the mixture of the energy of those who have deceased and maybe those who have lost loved ones out on the seas, and their minds, those of the survivors, are so affected that they can't let go, that they're somehow creating this, again, physical manifestation, apparition, so to speak, of this phantom ship that perhaps still sails the seas, never ending.
Yeah, the energy that we put into things that can manifest, especially something so tragic and emotional and personal.
The phantom ship idea, to me, the idea of conjuring up the phantom ship idea is a little much, but I'm not saying it's not possible. But I definitely think it's possible, the idea of conjuring up a spirit through your own mind, your own memories,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but does that a totally different type of ghost altogether? Like if you have
that's what I was just going to say. Okay. Is it conjuring up the actual spirit of this person, or is it a manifestation of a facsimile of it because it's just of the mind? It's there's a lot of questions there, but what is a spirit anyway? I mean, it's energy.
Yeah.
It's energy that we put out from our minds to manifest something like this, that if that's what's being done from our emotions, our thoughts and everything, why can't that just be what it is? I mean, it's either, if it's called a manifestation from your mind, or is it the real spirit? I mean, maybe there's no difference, maybe it's, but then it goes away from the fact of, if there's a ghost on the ship and you manifest something somewhere else, is that another different being of that same ghost?
Right. Yeah,
you were explaining it better than I was, but
hell, not really, but I got you on that one.
It's just going back to that same question is all I did. It's like,
see, this is one of the selling points of the Paranormally Zone. These shows are as live as you can possibly get without being live. None of the stuff is ever edited. Basically, ever. I mean, I think that we do a decent enough job, Mike. And sometimes I just don't feel like going back and editing it. I'm like, no, I think it's fine.
That's a lot of work.
We just leave it as it is. That's why sometimes we apologize if we seem like we're bumbling and stumbling. But I'm throwing this on Mike out of nowhere. I love doing that. And he bounces stuff back at me out of nowhere. And we're having a conversation off the cuff. Literally off the cuff.
And so far, not making a whole lot of sense.
Oh, come on now. I think this one's been doing... this has been a great episode.
There's just so many aspects of it you can discuss, and so many angles, and how many angles do you want to put into it that, new theories that, well, maybe it's this. I mean, you could do this for a week without stopping, and just keep going.
I feel like I should have named this Ghosts of the Titanic, but I have the image made, so we're leaving it as Ghosts of the Sea, which I think it fits. It's a better title than Ghosts of the Titanic for this one. But we're focusing on the Titanic quite a bit, and I'm going back to that because, this isn't BS. This is news, what I'm about to say, stuff that has been reported. Underwater vessels, who are around the area in the vicinity of the Titanic, submarines, not submersible, submarines now in the vicinity of the Titanic, reporting like radio signal interference. Listen to this. Reporting, picking up SOS signals where they do not know the calls are coming from. They cannot trace these SOS signals, the source of them at all. What was the Titanic sending out? The very first SOS calls, Mike, were sent out by the Titanic. They used to be called CQD. They tried out SOS for the first time on the Titanic. Those signals are still out in the ether somewhere. They don't go away.
Yeah, and that's scientifically...
That's fact.
Proven fact, yeah.
I mean, those signals are reaching other planets right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the submarines picking up? You know, I'm not necessarily saying these are SOS calls from the Titanic, but what a thought. What a thought. Would that not be mind-blowing if to this day they're still picking up the SOS signals underwater that were sent out by the Titanic?
And they're just bouncing around.
Just bouncing around. Or are they phantom SOS calls? My head hurts.
Too much to think about.
My head hurts. There have been reports, including multiple times during James Cameron's own expeditions, the locales right above where the Titanic sank. They're right in the area where the Titanic sank. More than one occasion, Mike. Several mysterious floating orbs are reported above the surface on the North Atlantic there, right where the Titanic went down. Now, are these some sort of weather phenomena that is easily explainable? We don't want to think it's that simple of an answer. They're not seen all the time. They're not seen on, specific times where you can predict the next time you're going to see them, as if it was caused by some sort of weather issue. But two different times, two different expeditions. James Cameron reported these orbs being reported, or being seen, I should say.
And if these are seen where maybe right where the Titanic went down, how many people that were in the water, floating in the water, how many were there that were dying, floating in the water right there? That's how most of them died. They and froze. Tragically, trauma, what was going through their minds? My God, the pain of freezing to death, the terror, the panic. In the trauma of what you just went through to get, before you even got in the water. That energy. Why isn't that energy haunting their place of death like it does in a house or in an asylum or in a 100% agree. Why wouldn't it? It's just to me it's a no-brainer. And I've never thought about that before, that there could be spirits or orbs or whatever on the surface of the water where the ship went down. But so many died there. As well as on the way down, they didn't last long on their way down, but probably the majority of the people that died were there. Who knows? I don't know. And there's also another issue, and I feel like I shouldn't bring it up because I don't remember exactly what happened. It wasn't necessarily a rainbow, but again, on two separate occasions, multiple witnesses on these Russian dive missions, including Bill Paxton himself, because he went with James, and he went and he visited the Titanic. That's documented in the awesome film Ghosts of the Abyss, all of that. It was another weather, I don't want to say weather phenomenon, but it was something that shouldn't have happened, and it happened twice. It was not an optical illusion, a sky, an appearance in the sky, not a rainbow. I apologize for not knowing exactly what happened again. Look it up, please. But it was something that shouldn't have happened, and it profoundly moved those who had seen it both times that they were visiting. So it was like a rainbow, but with the colors and things? Yes, it was some sort of light anomaly like on the horizon that shouldn't have. It was unexplainable, and it happened multiple times. I have an idea and a theory. But I'm almost afraid to bring it up. But... No, please, lay it on me. Lay it on us. It's not Carol Channing again, is it? No. I've played that one out. It's actually one of Chip Coffey's scarves. Hey, that makes sense. Oh my gosh. That's a massive scarf. What the hell? I would love to have seen that. Maybe that's one massive scarf that all of his scarves have been made out of. Yeah. Just clips off a few yards here and there. I know. I think he has an entire house full of scarves, and that's it. I'm still going to buy one. I've seen them for sale, on his website or whatever. I need to get one. I have a couple other things I want to get to. Because we need to wrap it up here shortly. Oh, yeah. But again, they're Titanic related.
but overall, absolutely related to the idea of ghosts of the sea. The first is a story, Mike. Goes back to 1977. It's a brief little story. It's a story of Second Officer Leonard Bishop, second officer of the SS Winter Haven. While second officer on the SS Winter Haven, Leonard Bishop was giving a tour to passengers of the ship. At one point, he was giving a tour to one particular passenger. He described the passenger as being soft-spoken, having a British accent, and having an uncanny attention to detail. Asked a lot of questions, but he seemed to have a lot of knowledge about this ship. Second Officer Bishop, proceeding with his tour, eventually finishing the tour for this passenger, he couldn't shake this odd feeling that he had about this passenger. There's something about him that he just couldn't put his finger on. Then years later, by chance, he was shown a picture of Titanic Captain Edward J. Smith, and he says, that's the man that I gave a tour to on the SS Winter Haven. He still don't know who he was, and the gentleman who showed him the picture says, that's impossible. That's Captain E.J. Smith, and he died on the Titanic in 1912. Just a story or something else to it? I love stories like that if it's just made up, but I don't know. I think that's cool.
That's one of those things where you would just love that to be true.
You know, and I did a little bit of search on it. I didn't see anything that said it was a blatant, just fake story. That's all I can say about that. I don't know. I would love to think that it's true.
But it just can't be corroborated, of course.
Right, exactly. Unless I hunted down Second Officer Leonard Bishop, but who knows if he's even alive anymore. Now, a second side of a similar story, Mike, again related to the Titanic. One of New York City's purported most haunted locales, most haunted hotels, is the Jane Street Hotel, which it went by a different name back in 1908. But the Jane Street Hotel, located in Greenwich Village, was where survivors of the Titanic passengers and crew stayed upon arriving in New York, and they stayed there until the American inquiry into the Titanic disaster was through. That hotel, to this day, is still allegedly one of the most haunted hotels in New York. People staying there claim to have seen and heard people who appear to be passengers of that era. I should say, passengers of the Titanic, people dressed in that era. People claim to hear sobbing, claim to hear anguished crying. Mike, could this be the ghosts of those survivors who were traumatized with survivor's guilt?
Yeah, you think of the survivor's guilt, and then you think of how long after they went through this trauma did they have to stay in this place? They couldn't go anywhere.
Weeks. They weren't allowed to go anywhere else.
So it was weeks of trauma on top of trauma, and just never being able to, I'm sure, come to grips with what they had been through. Mm-hmm. I mean, the traumatic negative energy there would be it'd be unbelievable.
So to me that would seem like a residual haunting, would it not? I mean, if because they're not staying there, they didn't die there. They eventually left, but their traumatized energy, their emotions have to have been imprinted there.
Yeah, it's just like imprinted. Yeah, that it would make sense as being a residual.
The sobbing, anguished cries make sense because what else could they have done? I mean, people staying there more than likely lost family members,
Sure.
And again, there is such a thing as survivor's guilt. 100%. Again, if you're interested in the history of the Titanic, look into those who survived and the suicide rate of those survivors. It's tragic. It really is.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm perusing through my notes, and it looks for the most part, looks like for the most part, we covered everything. Oh, here we go. I do want to ask you this, though, because we've mentioned this a few times. I wrote down ghosts exist on a different plane. Water simply isn't there. And what I mean by that, like ghosts, they're not affected by the physical attributes of their environment or wherever they may be because they're not in that physical environment.
Right. They aren't physical, period. I mean,
no.
They don't breathe to drown,
Right. See, but I get frustrated though when I hear, again, the pseudo skeptics or the cynics say like, oh, why would ghosts be underwater? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, no, they're not underwater. Okay, they're not. They're in a completely different dimension of existence.
Yeah. It's just a realm.
I don't know. I don't mean to get so fired up, but that's one of my pet peeves, man. Yeah, I think the second time through my notes, it looks like we did cover most of the stuff, Mike. Do you believe in that? Or I shouldn't say believe. What do you think of my note that I wrote down of the criteria of a ghost: dying violently, unexpectedly, and no burial?
Oh, yeah, that all fits. There's other things you could add into that, we talked earlier about
not all ghosts, obviously, not all ghosts.
Oh, absolutely. And, the vast majority not,
I hope not. Right.
But yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of questions, a lot of theories.
And we're just throwing out stuff that pops off our little noggins, but
there's a lot of facts out there too that if we knew them, they would really freak us out a little bit.
If we knew that, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Would science be even scarier if it was somehow able to, I don't know, solidify what we already believe, What, Mike, would that take some of the so-called glean off of the fascination with the paranormal if it was scientifically proven that ghosts exist? I mean, but let's be honest. Would that take some of the excitement away from it, sort of, or would it make it more exciting?
It would take the excitement of trying to figure out the unknown. I mean, it's like when you don't know, you can use your mind to make it as big as you want when it might be something that's really nothing, Sure. And I'm not saying ghosts are nothing, but boy, with our mind, we can, it's like when we're at the Sally house. I mean, if we let our minds go, we could have been seeing all kinds of things. I mean,
God, that's such a great point. That is such a great point. I still kick myself, Mike. And don't worry, we're wrapping it up here. It looks like you're getting jittery. So.
Oh no, I'm good.
Oh, okay, good. I'm still kicking myself though when we first pulled in there. I mean, you were so excited, and we get in there, and you're like, "Don't you feel that? Don't you feel that?" And I just go, "No." I mean, I wish I would have just let myself go. Yeah. I think, in hindsight, I think I was a little apprehensive, and I didn't necessarily want to start letting myself go. I didn't want to get freaked out by anything at that point. But now it's like, damn it, you bastard! Why didn't you just let yourself go? Because I was feeling excited just like you were, Mike. But I was like keeping it intact or whatever.
Yeah. That's true.
Not intact.
There's times when I'm like that at home here. Even it's like when I get up in the middle of the night, which I do many times during the night, every night. I'll go out in the kitchen to, get something to drink or whatever. And it's so quiet, and I'll turn the radio on in the kitchen because it's like, I don't want to hear anything.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I actually do that. And I did that last night and, and I've been doing it more lately, but it's like, there's times when I just have it dead silent. I'm making a piece of toast or something at 2:00 in the morning. And I'm like,
it's like you need
I'm listening.
something.
I'm listening, and, a lot of times it's nothing. There's nothing there. I don't hear anything. But then there's those times where it's like, I don't even want to try and hear anything. I just want to go have some toast or have something to drink, and then I'm going back to bed.
Damn, that's so interesting to me. Maybe one of those moments when you feel like that. Maybe that's one of those times you should turn on the digital recorder. If there's leave it on the table and just like say, You never know. I don't know. Maybe there's something that's causing you to feel like that.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that could be.
So how are you going to be? How are you going to handle the Velisca house?
Oh, it's going to be tough.
That's going to be tough.
I won't. Yeah, I won't lie about that. I'll probably have some emotional moments there, but it'll be great though. I mean, it's every bit of it will be worth it, especially getting you in the attic and just holding my knee against the door.
Oh man, Mike, we need to get some while we have everything recording. Obviously, we need to get another viable and reliable working set of good quality walkie-talkies.
Yeah,
one of us up in the attic by ourselves, the other one, I don't know, down outside in the barn or downstairs or something, and keep in touch. We both
maybe
need
locked
to be doing
in the car.
in the safety security of the car. Oh man. When we go there, that might be a time where I feel like I need to take some sort of protective device. I'm not talking like a violent protective device. I'm talking about something personal, like a.
Yeah, and I hope you're not talking about condoms either.
Not
Jeez.
that either. No. Of course not. No, get your mind out of the gutter there. Get your mind out of the gutter. No,
I didn't.
Like even though.
Hey, I thought it was just me, you, and I go. No,
I don't know.
But
I'm not talking. Just as an example, like I'll take a vial of holy water with or something. You know what I mean? Anything. I don't know. I feel like I might need to take something.
Do you still have those crystals that I gave you? I have all mine. I brought them to the Sally house.
Damn. Yep. I might have to do that as well. Well, Mike, any final thoughts on this? I know it's a large subject.
It's a vast ocean.
Literally, it's a vast ocean of possibilities and ideas, theories, beliefs, non-beliefs. I mean, what is going on? There has to be energy trapped in there. There has to be energy that isn't necessarily trapped, obviously. I mean, it's the largest portion of the earth by far is the ocean. By far. How many thousands, potentially millions, have perished on the ocean? There has to be some sort of energy, Mike, that is still there. And what form that energy takes, we don't know necessarily, but I think something's going on in several different places, if not the entire ocean.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Now, after this episode, do you want to go for a cruise?
Go for a cruise? Well... I'd like to go for a good Norwegian cruise.
You want to hop on
check out the fjords,
the Oasis of the Seas, those ships that are like the size of a small town.
Well, yeah, I tell you, it was hard enough for me. Well, it was not that it was really hard, but I had some uncomfortable moments of looking out the plane and looking down, and just as far as you can see, even up in a plane, all you saw was ocean,
water,
like flying over the ocean. It was just,
it's intimidating.
The thought of that is like, boy, this is just a plane. This is just metal flying in the air, and we're in the middle of nowhere oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. So being on the ocean would be bad too. I don't know. I have no desire.
I could handle being on a ship way easier than flying over the ocean. I'm terrified of flying. I've done it once.
I love to fly.
I was basically forced to do it, and I don't ever want to do it again. Even though if I want to travel the world, I have to. There's places I want to see. There's places you want to see. There's places Bridget and I want to go so bad, but you have to fly.
Some of those you can only fly.
Maybe we'll finally in our lifetime develop some sort of teleportation device where I don't have to. Yeah. I'd rather be broken down into nothingness and then reanimated across the sea.
And then end up being Patrick Fly.
Patrick Fly, exactly. Or like or like President Scroob in the Spaceballs with my ass backwards. It'll be on the front now. Anyways, Mike, this has been a great discussion. Thank you for making this work, buddy. We do need to make time, and we will. We're going to do some YouTube fast track episodes and a YouTube exclusive episode as well. We're just not going to get around to it tonight. Let's keep in touch, Mike. We have to film something very, very soon because, believe it or not, people like seeing us on YouTube.
Yeah, so. Well, pay more power to them.
I think that's great. That's awesome. Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. Thank you again, Mike. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, go check out our YouTube page and subscribe. Let's help the Paranormally Zone YouTube community grow. Mike.
And we got some great guests coming up. Remember?
Awesome guests coming up. The podcast is just beginning, boys and girls. Mike, until next time, what do our family, friends, Paranormally Zone
Loved ones.
loved ones, there you go. What do they need to do?
Peace out.